I was interested in flying from the time I was 8 years old, when my dad took me out to the pasture to see one of the old barnstormers coming through from World War I.
And after doing that, she said to herself, boy, when I get older, I've got to fly.
In the early years of World War II, the United States found itself in a difficult position. War was raging on two fronts, and there was a dire need for more pilots. The male pilots were stretched thin, and there seemed to be no way to meet the growing demand for aviators. It was at this point that two remarkable women, Jacqueline Cochran and Nancy Love, stepped forward with a bold idea to form squadrons of women pilots to free the men for combat. Thus was born the Women's Air Force Service Pilots, or WASPS.
They're WASPS, Women's Air Force Service Pilots.
I finished college when I was 19, so I had plenty of time to do what I wanted to. I started taking flying lessons at English Field in a tailorcraft. And then I saw in a flying magazine that Jacqueline Cochran was organizing women to be trained in the military. So I wrote to her at the address they gave and got a letter back to come to Fort Worth, Texas for an interview. So I was interviewed by Jacqueline Cochran and accepted in the 7th class in 1943.
Nell Bright was part of Class 43W7 and trained at Avenger Airfield in Sweetwater, Texas. The women underwent comprehensive training covering subjects such as navigation, physics, Morse code, meteorology, military law, and mechanics.
Well, my mother is an intellectual female who has always felt that she has a lot to offer and is just as good as anyone else. And being a woman has never held her behind.
Although the WASPs were technically a civilian group, they received the same rigorous flight training as the men and performed every mission that the men did, except for flying combat or conducting overseas operations.
Biggs Field was at El Paso. That's where I was sent to the 6th Tow Target Squadron. And our job there was to train the anti-aircraft boys at Fort Bliss, ground to air, and we towed targets behind B-25s and B-26s for them to shoot at the targets. Of course, they were just learning to shoot, but fortunately they didn't hit our planes, at least not when I was flying. It was pretty exciting. And we also did strafing missions in the two Navy Helldivers, the A-24 and the A-25, and also the Air Force P-47. So we might do a strafing mission in the morning, a towing target in the afternoon, and then flying twin-engine Beech aircraft at night to do searchlight missions, teaching the boys how to use the searchlight.
Even though the women were granted their wings by the Army Air Corps and held officer status, they remained officially classified as civilians. As a result, they were ineligible for special military funeral honors, and their remains had to be repatriated at their own cost. Their coffins lacked the customary adornment of a U.S. flag, and there was no service flag displayed in a window to acknowledge their contributions.
We had 38 girls that were killed in service. We took up collection to pay for them to go home. The government furnished a pine box, that was it. One of us would go with the body to take back. And Jackie Cochran paid for an awful lot of the funerals and everything.
With the war winding down, the WASPs were ultimately disbanded in late 1944. Nell Bright decided to settle in Phoenix, Arizona. While in Arizona, she met her future husband, and together they raised 2 children. It was in Arizona that Bright embarked on yet another pioneering journey. Alongside another woman, she became one of the first female stockbrokers in the Phoenix Valley, a career that spanned 5 decades. Surprisingly, her children didn't learn about her World War II piloting experiences until they were much older.
I didn't really find out anything till my 20s. Mother was very proud of being a WASP and flying.
After the war, Bright and her fellow pilots initially felt they had proven themselves and were content without formal recognition. However, with time, many felt compelled to share their stories with others. Bright, alongside other former WASPs, spent years advocating to gain acknowledgement for their service, facing significant hurdles, including capturing the attention of Congress. Their perseverance finally paid off in 1977 when the WASPs were granted veteran status and an honorable discharge, marking a significant milestone for the women pilots. This entitled them to veterans' benefits and underscored their vital contributions to the war effort. In 2009, they were honored with the Congressional Gold Medal. Even in her retirement to Utah, Nell Bright remained remarkably active. She stayed close to her fellow WASPs, regularly attending WASP Alumni Association meetings, and was also a member of the 99s, an organization of female aviators founded in part by Amelia Earhart. Today, with only a handful of the original WASPs still alive, Nell Bright has secured her place in history as a pioneering female aviator and is now officially recognized as a veteran. Her story and enduring legacy highlight the many contributions of the WASPs, who are now part of the official history of military aviation.